your first call to go up to the major leagues is a huge
deal.
Oh, it's a huge deal. I mean, it's what you've been working for the last 8 to 10 years, you know, and I got my call. I was in a hotel exercise facility in Colorado Springs, working AAA baseball when I got my first call and told me I was going to be going up. And one of the only things bigger than that call is the call that you get when you're going to be hired full time and be on staff. And that's another big day, very big day.
The collaboration conversation is brought to you by Project Brickworks, the new ministry dedicated to equipping Christians to use their talents and gifts to bring others into a relationship with King Jesus. Project Brickworks is a crowdfunded nonprofit ministry made possible by generous folks like you, and we are so very grateful. We created the collaboration conversation as a way for Christians to share about their upcoming projects and how they are using the gifts and talents that God has given them. And I am super excited today because our guest, well, first of all, if you're listening to this and you don't know this about the Lejean family, we're a baseball family. Amen. Some folks are football families, soccer families, whatever.
Preach it.
We are baseball families. We have spent how many hours have you spent
no idea
at a baseball field?
35,000.
Yes, a lot of hours. And so we are super excited today because we are talking to a professional Major League Baseball umpire, Mr. DJ Reyburn. DJ, we are so excited to have you and thank you for being here with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I think I've spent more time on a baseball field than all of you combined.
I think that you will win. I think we just wanted to make sure that you knew how excited we were to talk to you and how much we get it, how much we get the love of the sport.
How many hours do you estimate you've been on the field?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've counted the games. I mean, you got to go back just professionally 21 years.
Oh my God.
I got into minor league. Yeah, I'm 44 years old. I got into minor league baseball when I was 22. Very low levels of the minor leagues. So that goes back to, the year 2000. But before that, I was umpiring, little league stuff, high school stuff. Was kind of my summer job. So I started umpiring when I was 16. And then I started playing organized baseball when I was 8 years old. So yeah,
for sure. I think that we'll like just wave the white flag. We'll give up. Yeah. That's fine. But we do love baseball, and so yeah, we're really excited that you're here.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be the highlight of our weekend. So we're excited. So you're on the road. You doing all right today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, actually, we had an off day yesterday, a rare off day on the road. Typically, I try to buzz home, even if it's just for one day. But we had a night game in Baltimore on Wednesday and then off yesterday. So we drove from Baltimore to Philly Wednesday night after the game, which is also rare. We don't typically drive ourselves or drive anywhere. It's typically a plane ride. So being so close, it's only about an hour and a half, Baltimore to Philly. And so we got up here late Wednesday night and then had yesterday off. So went to Top Golf with one of my partners. We went and played a little Top Golf and just got out of the hotel and got a little workout in and just had a really nice day. Then had a dinner and then tonight we have back at it in Philly.
Oh, well, good. So we Sarah and I have met you once, just briefly after a game. I want to say it was the Tigers and the Reds. You were umpiring at third base that night. Obviously, some of these details are stronger in my memory. But the way that we know you is through a mutual friend, John and Carla Visser, and y'all and my husband, her dad, are in the same Bible study. And so when Billy said, "Oh, you should have DJ on," I was like,
"Well, yeah, duh.
That would be great." Would he say yes? So my husband's been fairly instrumental in getting this worked out. So we're excited to talk with you today. I
love Billy, by the way.
Aw, we do.
I love him. He's so cool and so laid back and just and has so much Bible knowledge. I love, we miss when he's not there. We miss kind of that knowledge, that scriptural knowledge that he has, because he's taken theological classes and stuff. And that's, and he's a teacher, obviously, by nature. So it's just so great to hear him talk. And I just love his demeanor. My dogs, when we have Bible study at my house, my dogs are just instantly all over him because he's just so relaxed and calm.
Dog whisperer.
Yeah, he is. He's great. And I saw him this morning and he looked awesome.
Yeah, he's great. We love him as well. Well, so thank you for that very nice compliment about our family, but tell us a little bit about you and your family. You were saying that when you have a day off, you go home. Like that's a really important priority. So just tell us a little bit about you and your family.
Yeah. So I spend about 185 days on the road. About half the year I'm on the road. So we got to take every opportunity to get home. And that sounds really tough, and it is during the season. But the flip side of that is that when I am home, I'm home. There's no other job for me. So my kids get me and my wife, 100% of the time, when I'm home. So that's kind of nice. I just tell people that I get all my weekends at once.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Kind of. So it's a good schedule. It's tough during the season, but it's awesome during the off season. I'm home for the holidays and all that stuff. So that is nice. But we live in Middle Tennessee, which I love. I've been in Middle Tennessee since 2004, and my wife grew up there. So she's always been.
Originally?
Originally, I'm from Michigan, the Lansing area. I grew up in a small town similar to Fairview, kind of a Fairview town when I was until about 8th grade. It was a rural community. It's an awesome place called Portland, Michigan. That's where my brother graduated from high school. And then we moved to a community close by, a suburb of Lansing called DeWitt, when I was going into my freshman year of high school. And that's where I grew up and stayed in that area throughout college. And then the first few years of the minor leagues, I would go and work my minor league season and then come home and stay in my parents' basement, basically my room that I had in high school. I would come back home and I would substitute teach. I worked at a restaurant, did some bartending, and refereed some basketball, stuff like that in the off season, living with my parents. And just, you don't make much money as a minor league umpire. So off season housing is almost, you need to find somewhere free to stay. A lot of us, live with our parents or with roommates that kind of let guys come back and crash and stuff like that. So I did that from 2000 till 2004 and then moved to Nashville in 2004.
Very cool. And how many kids do you have?
3.
3 kids.
What are they?
Yep. A daughter and 2 boys. Iris is 12, going on 20. Maxwell's 9 and Cody will be 7 tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Happy birthday.
Cute,
so sweet.
That's great. Well, continue on with you had started to talk a little bit about your history and how you got started. And at what point did you just know, okay, I want to umpire professionally for the rest of my life, kind of a feel?
So I figured that out in my sophomore year in college. I was doing high school level little league stuff. And I was also officiating basketball, and I just kind of got the official bug. I was like, I never really did football, but I did a lot of basketball and baseball. And I picked baseball because it's outdoors and I wanted to work outside. And I thought, this is what I'm going to go for. And I was having a discussion with my college roommate at the time, and we were kind of having one of those dorm room, what's the rest of our lives going to look like discussion, that you have in college. Yeah. And I said, if I could do anything, I would be a major league umpire. And he said, I'll never forget. He said, that's attainable. He goes, you could do that. He's like, I thought you were going to say astronaut or something. He said, you could do that. And so I was like, you know what, maybe I could. So I started looking into it, and, but that's where it kind of started. I was just really enjoyed officiating sports. And then it was that day when he was like, that's attainable. You should go for that.
Yeah.
Is there a certain education that you have?
I was just going to ask that, is there a test you have to take?
Yeah. So there's a school. So I got my degree from Hope College, a little liberal arts school in Michigan. Got my bachelor's from there. And then that was part of the deal. My parents would pay for umpire school as a graduation present if I got my degree. And so at the time, there were 2 schools. that I went. There's still 2 schools, but they've kind of changed a little bit. The one I went to was the Jim Evans Academy of Professional Umpiring. It's no longer an umpire school, but it was in Kissimmee, Florida, and it's like a 5-week course. And anybody can go, not just people that want to be major league umpires. In fact, a lot of people go just to get some training to, go from the Division II to the Division I level, or go from high school to college, just to get training. But it is a 5-week course. And at the end of it, they would select, the top students to go into minor league baseball, if that was your aspiration. So there was about 120 in each school. So, 240, and they took 50 my year. And that was a big year. Typically they only take about 20 from each school. So it's pretty competitive. Mm-hmm. And then from there, those 50, about 40 of us were hired to go into the minor leagues.
Wow.
So it's kind of a need base, what they need through attrition in the minor leagues. So that's kind of how you get started.
Pretty exciting though, especially I'm thinking of from your parents' perspective, like, oh, this is working out really well. He got hired.
Yeah. And they were very supportive, and I had a lot of help along the way. I mean, I had, just being able to go home, during the off season and live with them, and then just, friends that supported, and then I had great partners throughout the minor leagues, and nobody gets to the major leagues all by themselves. And it takes a lot of help because it's just a long road. You spend 10 to 15 years going through the minor leagues, and it's a really tough road.
Wow. So what's the difference, I guess? So like right now they pay, they send you places, you travel. Is it the same in the minor leagues, or are you just kind of located in a specific area? How does that work?
Yeah, it's completely different. It's the minor leagues kind of up until this year. That's kind of, the minor leagues are in a big transformation right now. So some of that had to do with Major League Baseball taking over the minor leagues and having them more active, and some of it had to do with COVID restrictions and protocol and stuff like that. That's all, everybody's world's kind of changed, right, and how people do business. But when I was going through the minor leagues, it was like me and one other guy. One person was the driver, so somebody had to bring a car to the equation, and we'd work, the 2 of us, and you work in a league. So kind of a regional league. So for example, the Midwest League was one league, single A ball that I worked in. I was the driver. My partner and I were driving around in my Pontiac Grand Prix, and just, suitcases and umpire gear all in the trunk, and off you go. You got your schedule. So you're in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, for 3 days, and then over to Clinton, Iowa for 3 more days, and then down to Davenport and into Indiana and Illinois and Ohio and stuff like that. So you're just driving around, typically after your last game, and it's not glamorous. It's, cheaper hotels, and, some of these smaller towns, there's nothing open after a ball game, at 11 o'clock. So it's the minor leagues, but it's romantic. It's fun. It is. It's cool. And I've seen so many, I see all the major cities now. Being a major league umpire, I go to all the big cities, but back then it was small towns, and the minor league team may be one of the only things going on there in the summertime, as far as sporting events and stuff like that. So it's really fun. And it was a cool part. It's a cool way to see parts of America that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah. Okay. So give me some dates for just a second, just so that I can place this timeline wise. When did you graduate or finish the course, the 5-week course? What year?
So that would have been January of 2000.
2000. And then you said in 2004, you moved to the majors. Is that right?
No, in 2004, I moved to Nashville.
Okay. So at what point did you transition from minor league to major league?
I got my first major league game in 2008.
Wow. We're saying that 10 to 15 years is usually the stretch. So you must be really good because you did that in 8.
Well, I got my first game then, but I didn't become a major league umpire until I didn't get hired until 2014.
Okay.
So one thing a lot of people don't know is that at any given time, there are 10 to 20 minor league umpires working in the major leagues. And that is because of vacation time and injuries. Yeah. And so, if there's always 2 crews on vacation, And there's always a few individual vacations as well. And that's when you kind of get your tryout in the major league. So got my first game in 2008, but went up and down. So when I wasn't in the major leagues, I was in AAA, floating up and down. They're called rovers. And I did that for 5 years. So I actually worked 450 major league games before I was an official on staff major league umpire.
Yeah.
I guess people don't just retire. You got to wait until somebody really gets old, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really good job. And it does take, the attrition's pretty slow. My first from 2000 to like 2008 or 2006, actually from 2000 to 2006, I think there was one major league hire.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the door kind of opened up, and just, as, groups of people kind of age and get to that level, then there may be, 4 or 5, but for a long time there, the first few years that I was in the lower levels of the minor leagues, there was just no movement to the big leagues at all. And since now it's been a couple each year because of just the dynamics of the age of our staff. So.
Well, I know you said that I'm going to be a little bit silly here, but I know that you just said that they're called rovers, the minor league umps that do both.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to imagine that you're in a locker room and you're going to get to go to the show. Oh. That's what I'm going to imagine in my brain.
Yeah.
Which movie was that? Where they call it? I mean, I think that they always call it that, right?
Oh, it's the Kevin Costner one.
Well, they're all Kevin Costner ones.
Oh, well, that's
that's a big deal. That's a big time. There's, your first call to go up to the major leagues is a huge
deal.
Oh, it's a huge deal. I mean, it's what you've been working for the last 8 to 10 years, know, and I got my call. I was in a hotel exercise facility in Colorado Springs, working AAA baseball when I got my first call, and told me I was going to be going up. And one of the only things bigger than that call is the call that you get when you're going to be hired full time and be on staff. And that's another big day, very big day.
And where were you when that happened?
I was at home in Franklin. Cherie and I were living in Franklin at the time, our first house, and got that phone call. Kind of knew it was coming from what I was told to, make sure you can be on the phone, make sure you can answer the phone at a certain time. Yep. Calls coming out. And so I put the kids down for their naps and got my cell phone next to me, and I just stood there,
ready.
Yeah, already. And then that phone call came, and it was Joe Torre that called.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. He was kind of the head of the umpiring department, on-field operations at the time. He had that job for a while. And so him and the whole umpiring department kind of were on the phone call, and they called and welcomed me and told me they want to hire me full time. It was pretty cool.
So cool.
Okay.
So it's just like I imagined.
Yeah.
Can you hear people in the stands who maybe have things to say about calls that they may or may not agree with? Can you hear them?
Yeah, sometimes you tune them out for the most part. But when you're working the bases, a lot more you hear because you have a lot of downtime working the bases. Whereas when you're working the plate, it's just, not, you have to be so focused, and it's nonstop, pitch after pitch after pitch. But and you see kind of tune that stuff out typically. But yeah, if somebody wants to be heard, or, they can figure out.
Well,
yeah.
I guess that I'm using that story as a segue to asking about your talents and gifts, and how that translates and how you use your gifts and talents in every game when you're on the road and when you're interacting with other umps and players. And so I just wanted to open that up to you.
Personally, I guess you have to kind of brag on myself to answer that question, which is, to talk about your own talents and gifts is kind of tough. But one thing that I've always, I don't know where this comes from. I guess it is a gift, of just forgiveness and grace to people has never been tough for me. And I think that holding grudges and being upset at people for a long time is just gives them more power over what they've done to you. If somebody wrongs you and then you're going to continue to hold that grudge, you're just kind of prolonging the whole pain and so for me, just, forgiving and not forgetting. Sometimes, somebody harms you multiple times or in a way that you shouldn't ever go back to that because they're just going to do it again. So that's not part of it, but just kind of the letting go of that, has always been easy for me. And so I think that applies in umpiring big time when, you have a disagreement with a player and that player, may say something to you or even get kicked out of a game and say some personal things to you. And then you have to see them again in a week or two and be fair to them, and call the game the way the game's supposed to be called and not hold a grudge and take something out personally. And that's what a good umpire does. So I think that's definitely helped because we've all been, every umpire, anybody who's officiated any sport at any level has had those problems, has had those attacks, personal attacks. And if you hold that grudge and it clouds your judgment later on, it's going to cause more problems.
Right.
You have to get rid of it. I think that's one thing that's really helped, a gift from God that's really helped me in my professional life.
Well, I mean, that's a really, really good application that like a
you
perfect,
live it, yes.
Yeah.
Well, so I hear what you're saying about how it's kind of like bragging, but one of the things that we've just come to accept and kind of name it is that when it's a gift from God, it's something that really it's easy to be humble about it, right? Because there's nothing you've done to do it, to deserve it or anything like that. And so it's just this idea of kind of naming it, claiming it, identifying it, because then you can be more aware. So obviously you're very aware of that, but I would say that you probably also are great at perseverance. I mean, it's taken a while to get to where you wanted to be, and you kind of just put your head down and focused and did all of the things that you needed to do. And I just think that's great. So I'm sure that there are even more talents and gifts that God's given you. But it's great to see how you're using what he has given you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Resiliency is, if I could instill one thing on my kids and just the younger generation, is resiliency for sure, because that's just, I mean, the world's going to knock you down at some point. I mean, nobody gets away free. And
over again.
Yeah. And I just think resiliency is and it is something that I've definitely had resiliency. You have to make it through the minor leagues. You definitely you're going to get knocked down. And we always say one of the first things that I was taught in the low levels of the minor leagues from an older umpire who was working up and down in the big leagues at the time was just that he always said, you're going to quit 300 times in your mind. And you do, it gets hard, you get homesick and all this stuff. And there were a number of times where I was like, I'm done with this. This is my last year. I'm quitting tomorrow, but just that resiliency is key, I think, in all aspects of life.
Do you have like a post-show, post-game ritual that you do that just kind of helps you let it go and relax and rest and move on? Do you have like something that you do after every game?
That's definitely one thing that takes a long time to kind of develop. And the trick to that is to find healthy ways to kind of come down, because, like I said, in minor leagues, but even in the major leagues, when you get off the field at 10, 11 o'clock at night, there's not a whole lot of healthy options that are open. What's open at 11 o'clock in a city, a bar. And so, that's something that, I struggled with for a long time. A lot of umpires have struggled with. We have come so far in our profession with getting people help and finding, ways to kind of come down from those adrenaline rushes in those games. And it takes a long time. We're people just like everybody else that struggle with all sorts of different addictions and temptations and stuff like that. We have an awesome kind of the leader of our spiritual group is a guy named Ted Barrett, who's a major league umpire, very well known, been around for a long time, and is an ordained minister. And he kind of, helped get that stuff, kind of bring it to the forefront of, listen, guys, like if, there's other options here than just going to the bar after a game. And, I think for me, the biggest thing was just getting active during the day so that after that game, I'm not like, I don't want to go back to that hotel room because I've been there all day, So getting out of the hotel room during the day makes me, after the game, be like, oh, I can't wait to get back to the hotel room and just turn on a Friends episode and relax, and just do something like that. But our group has come a long way with spirituality. We pray before every game, our whole crew, and not every crew does that, but every crew that I've been on for the last few years has, I'm kind of the leader in the prayers for our crew. And, everybody usually welcomes a prayer. whatever the beliefs are,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I asked.
Well, so I know you don't have a favorite team anymore, but
Because you're not allowed.
but who did you grow up watching?
The Detroit Tigers.
Okay.
So so in 1984, I was 8 years old and they won the World Series. And the Pistons were winning the NBA championship a couple years later, and Michigan football was in its Bo Schembechler heyday. So yeah, growing up in Michigan, I had a lot of successful sports teams to root for. But yeah, baseball wise, it was the Detroit Tigers. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and this is going back just a little bit, but I was thinking about this while you were telling your story about being in the minors. When you were the driver, did that mean that your passenger had to be behind the plate?
No. So the driver just meant that you had the car. You brought the car to the equation, and we would share driving. We would both drive. Yeah. But, typically that is, you bring up something that probably a lot of people don't know too, is that when it is your plate job, you kind of are treated a little bit differently by the crew. The crew tries to make it as easy as possible on you. You get to pick the color and uniform you're going to wear that night. If you're a crew that plays music in the locker room, the plate guy usually selects you're kind of like the starting pitcher, for teams. They usually let that guy select the music and maybe like where you're going to go to lunch, if you guys are going to go to lunch together, because, it's the toughest, it's by far the toughest part of the job is going out there and calling balls and strikes for 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay. I'm naive. I don't know anything.
I know. I
would like to know.
Yeah.
Well, but is it assigned every game?
Yeah, we rotate. So you work the plate one night.
The rotation.
Yeah. And then we go to third, second, first plate, third, second.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. I was like wondering, how did that get picked?
Well, how many color options do you have?
Just two. We have a black jersey and a like kind of a light blue.
Light blue. That goes with blue.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That is so cool. I feel like I know a lot about baseball and I had no idea. I mean, you really are the star for that game or that day. That's awesome.
Yeah. When you have the plate, you're kind of you get to make some of the more decisions and just kind of like everybody kind of leaves you alone in the locker room about 30 minutes before we get there, about an hour and a half before the game. And just to be there and be in the stadium and then kind of just, that's when work starts. And then typically we play cards for about 35, 40 minutes, just to kind of get your head, just kind of have a routine, whatever that routine is. And then 30 minutes before the game, everybody's getting ready and you kind of just leave the plate guy alone to kind of just be calm and get prepared. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Maybe this is like a team where you're not allowed to have a favorite, but do you have a favorite in the rotation? Is it to be behind the plate so that you get all that special?
No, I get that a lot. A lot of people ask that. It's just, I wouldn't want to do any of them every day.
Gotcha.
It's nice to be able to move around. Yeah.
Gotcha.
For sure.
Very cool.
I have learned
Your mind's
much.
blown.
I know.
Like,
this is
you
awesome.
Have 2 colors. Just kidding.
Well, and this doesn't really relate, but Sarah's older brother, my oldest son, was a pitcher. Well, so was the younger one too, but the older one.
I pitched for a little bit, but that's fine.
Oh.
Continue.
Okay, y'all pitched.
It's okay.
But Bo got further in high school.
Yes, Bo was actually like really good.
And I remember whenever he was pitching, especially postseason, he would get one end of the bench and the whole rest of the team was just leaving him alone.
Right.
He's like Billy. He's super chill, real cerebral. And so no one was talking to him. It's like, poor Bo.
Yeah. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned in the conversations that we've had in scheduling you for this interview, that you love history. And so I wanted to ask you about that. And just let you, is it baseball history specifically or just kind of history in general?
But all history and kind of my take on it too is just, I like events and historical places, but I really like to learn about the people that were there and like, what was it like and what were they doing and how, who are the people that made these decisions, and there's so many people kind of, I always say kind of on the fringe of history. Everybody knows about, the presidents and the leaders of industry and stuff like that. But there's so many great stories about just people who really influenced those times in our history and where we are now that just you've never heard of. And I love learning stories about that. going in the International League, it's a AAA league. One of the kind of corridors of the International League runs along the Erie Canal. And you had, a Buffalo and Rochester and some of these towns that you're just like, where did these towns come from? Like, why are these relatively big cities, up here in upstate New York? And it's because of the Erie Canal. That's what developed. And so you can kind of just follow all these really cool just patterns, and some of them are random, and that kind of history is what I really like. And then of course, baseball lends itself to that as well. I mean, Fenway Park is I love working at Fenway Park. It's always packed. The crowd is always super into it. It's the Northeast, they're tough and rowdy. And, Babe Ruth played there, so it's just like, it's so I love that history of, and sadly we're losing a lot of that in baseball because, new stadiums are being built. And so, you're kind of losing some of that history that I love about it. I mean, Dodger Stadium is the third oldest ballpark in the major leagues. And it's beautiful. I mean, it was so far ahead of its time. It's still just a gorgeous place. But it was, built in the 50s, I think, or late 50s.
Okay.
And so for that to be the third oldest, then you go to Fenway that was built, I don't know what, it's, 115, 110 years old.
Yeah.
Wrigley Field's over 100 years old. So,
so cool.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say we haven't been to all those stadiums, but I would say that it's an unusual energy at Fenway, for us at Angel Stadium, at Dodger Stadium. Just this, I mean, I don't know. It's just an energy. Yeah. Just it's electric. I've not been to Yankee Stadium. I'm sure that it's that way as well there, but yeah, something special at Fenway.
Well, so in all of your many years of baseball, do you have any specific favorite stories, whether that's umping or traveling or playing? I know you played for a bit. So any favorite stories that stick out to you?
Probably one of my favorite times on the field, or most memorable times on the field, I should say, was I was at second base for Derek Jeter's last game at Yankee Stadium. Oh, and that was pretty cool. Being a kid that grew up in Michigan, Derek Jeter was just about 2 years older than me. So I remember him being the guy in Michigan, like, oh my gosh, this guy got drafted by the Yankees, and 2 years later, he's in the big leagues, playing shortstop for the Yankees. Like, wow, that guy's from Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's so cool. And then so being on the field for his last game at Yankee Stadium was really special. It was he got a walk off. I mean, go back and I'm sure there's on YouTube, or so you could find the clip. But they were leading by 2 runs going into the top of the ninth, and he had kind of just a normal game. Made a couple plays and stuff, and it was just kind of this normal game. And then the Yankee closer gave up 2 runs.
Oh no!
2 or 3, might have been 3 runs in the top of the ninth to tie it. And so now we're going to the bottom of the ninth in a tie game, and Jeter's the third guy up to bat. Yeah. And the first guy gets on, the second guy bunts him over. Jeter hits a base hit into right field, and the game's over, and the place just goes up for grabs. I mean, it was awesome. And I'm just standing at second base, like watching all this happen. It was really, really pretty cool. And then working the playoffs, my first playoff assignments. My first playoff assignment was in Fenway. It was Yankees Red Sox, so it was really intense and really memorable.
Oh wow, that is awesome. Who's your? I mean, you can't really have one, but like, who's like your favorite that you've met?
Player.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As far as personality wise, and just Jeter's really kind of on another level as far as just, they had the respect shirts for him when he was retiring. And that was because he has respect and he gives people respect. And he just always treated umpires very fairly, and always had a reputation for being fair with us. Talent wise, I mean, there's just a number of them. I remember my first spring training umpiring the plate in the big leagues. Alex Rodriguez was like, when he swung the bat, I know there was a difference in like kind of what he did and what most other people did. You kind of can see that, like, even at that level, their talents are incredible. I mean, they're off the charts. There's stuff that you can't explain it unless you're down there seeing it. And then he comes up and like, he let the pitch go so deep. I was getting ready to like, okay, this is going to be a strike. And all of a sudden, then he decides to swing and just, hits a laser into left field. And I'm like, holy cow, he could wait longer than other people before he had to start a swing because his hands were so quick. So that kind of stuff is kind of cool to see. And then the pitching, the ball moves so much later than anything you saw in the minor leagues. So it's like, wow, you got to really stick with these pitches until the ball's caught, because they don't even move, horizontally until it gets about 5-6 feet in front of the plate. And then it's just like, it's crazy.
Jeez.
That's amazing.
That is really cool.
You have such a great
cool job.
I could never do it. I'm not
it's a very special talent.
Yes.
It's very cool.
That's awesome. Well, one of the other things that we talked about is that you're involved with a nonprofit. It's called Umps Care. Is that what it is? Great. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So that's our charity. That's the Major League Umpires charity that has kind of evolved over the years. But we have kind of 3 major initiatives that we do. We do tickets. We do a ticket program for, and we work with the Dave Thomas and United Way, Big Brother, Big Sister, and Dave Thomas Kids Waiting for Adoption. And what we do is we leave tickets. We bring the kids to the game. A lot of them will come with somebody who may be a foster care or a Big Brother, Big Sister. And they come to the games and we give them tickets. We give them like a bag, like a goodie bag. They come down to the locker room. We take them out on the field for a picture and just kind of have 10-15 minutes to talk to them before the game. And that's a really cool, that's a cool day. That's been put on the back burner for the last year and a half because of COVID restrictions and stuff. Hopefully we can get that rolling again next year or maybe towards the end of this year. And then we do a scholarship program. So I think we have 4 scholarships at a time that we donate that scholarship to a person who was adopted later in life.
Okay.
So someone who was adopted as an older child. We have a scholarship fund and they apply and we give them money to go to college. And then the third initiative is really, really special to me. And what we do is we do a Build-A-Bear program for kids for children's hospitals.
Wow.
And so it's cool. I've done a number of them and we work with local hospitals. So, say I've done one in Boston. We go in, it's all set up through Umps Care and they just kind of contact us and say, hey, you guys are in Boston. Would you be interested? Can you help us out with a hospital visit? And so the 4 of us will go on whatever day it is. We'll go about, 11 o'clock, noon and go and just, we got these wagons full of Build-A-Bears and different outfits. And we take them into these hospital rooms and it's just, they're special.
Oh,
it's so special. That is so amazing.
Go in the hospital room and we build the bear for the kid, or we'll just, put them in the little house and let them do it later. And it's really cool to see, just kind of put a smile on their face. Cause everybody who comes in and out of those rooms are typically, drawing blood or giving them medicine. And it's kind of just a fun little, a couple minutes for them and the parents, just so the parents can see them happy. It's pretty special. And again, a lot of that stuff has been taken away because of COVID, but hopefully we'll be able to pick it back up soon.
Totally. Oh my gosh. That is so cool.
Oh, so sweet. Yes.
That is so special.
Well, thank you.
They're emotional days. They're not, it's not, it's a good feeling, but it's tough to go into those hospitals and see, terminally ill, in some cases, kids just,
For sure.
Oh, wow.
Man.
I know.
How am I supposed to go into trivia after that?
Well, actually, this is kind of off subject. My oldest son has a fairly extensive baseball card collection. And there's a lot of cards that we just, he can't sell or whatever he's going to do. And we've been praying about ministry. I'm doing that in air quotes, but maybe he can, somehow coolly package these up and take them to the hospitals. And just, at least the boys I would think would really like them. He's trying to figure out a way to give them away to somebody who would really like to have them.
Yeah.
So
that's a good idea. The cards thing is there's not a lot of value behind them anymore. Because the baseball card thing was flooded in the 80s, right? And I did the same thing. I have a huge collection. My grandmother and I collected them, and I'm just holding on to them because it was the collection that, she did most of the work and she really got into it, but it would always take me and some of my cousins and stuff. But my kids love the cards, they love the baseball cards. And you could teach a lot of history of baseball with some of those old cards because, most of those players aren't around anymore.
Yeah.
It's so true. Well, you totally inspired me. So that's good. We're going to go home and talk about that.
That's what this whole podcast is all about.
That's true.
Being inspiring. Well, just to kind of wrap it up, we wanted to do a little fun trivia thing with you, if that's okay. It's just one question. So,
but it has 7 parts.
Yes. And so you probably know
Stump the Ump.
It's not, we can call it that if you would like.
You're not going to be stumped.
You're not going to be stumped.
So a lot of times when you meet people and they find out what you do, they want to ask you some sort of like crazy rules question. And we always call it Stump the Ump. If somebody's they want to play Stump the Ump with us. Yeah.
Sure. We're going to call it Stump the Ump.
Well, there have been a couple of plays recently when we're watching games that something happened. And I was like, and I did stats since I was in 9th grade, and which is a very, very long time. And I would say, I didn't know that. I'm gonna write that down and ask DJ. And Billy's like, I already asked him. I'm like, right. So I wasn't going to bring up questions that you've already been asked.
Funny.
So.
Well, we always do this with anybody that's coming to a baseball game with us for the first time.
Yes.
You guys did it with Nick, my new husband, when you guys first met. They met him first at a baseball game, and Jesse, my brother, asked him. He's like, and you can have all the game to think about it. Because if you don't know baseball, you probably don't know this. So the question is, what are the 7 ways a batter can get on base?
Ooh. 7 ways, huh?
Yep.
Okay, so there's a walk, a hit by pitch.
Yep.
A base hit.
Yep.
So that encompasses all types of hits, right? Just a hit?
Yes.
Okay. So walk, hit by pitch, base hit, a strikeout. You can strike out and ball not caught and then run to first base. I don't know.
We're calling that drop third strike. Yep.
Drop third strike. Okay. There's catcher's interference.
Yep. That's the one I always miss. I always forget that.
Too.
It's because I'm a catcher and I never interfere. That's what it is.
There is a runner's interference. The runner gets hit by a batted ball. Yes. The ball's dead and the batter gets first base. So that is 6. I'm probably missing an obvious one.
You're good. There we go. So the last 2. So the one that you just mentioned, runner's interference, it's got like an umbrella name, if that makes right.
Just tell them what it is.
Are we calling it that one?
Yeah, fielder's choice.
Yeah.
Oh, fielder's choice. Sure, of course, that is an obvious one. Yeah.
Right. So I think that it's either 8 or those go together. It's not a big deal. But there is one more that's
a little thing you're going to be like, oh yeah.
For a batter to get on first base.
Yep.
What is it?
It is Stump the Ump. Sorry. It's an error.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I was like,
I missed this one.
Yeah.
That probably doesn't happen too often.
Oh no.
In your neck of the woods.
And the funny part about that is that the scoring part of the rule book is the one part of the rule book that we don't even teach at umpire school because we have no influence over that. We don't need to know if it's a hit or an error. Yeah. Or so all the ones that I kind of came to my mind were all rules.
Yeah, and you nailed all of the ones. Like I said, the defensive interference is one that I never think of because it rarely ever happened. But you would have, behind the plate, you would have seen that a ton. So,
well, I have a question, and if you don't know the answer to this, that's fine, and if we can cut it. But one of the trivia questions that when I was reading up on that said defensive indifference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is.
That just means they're letting a guy steal, basically. So they're up by 6 runs in the 9th inning, and there's a guy on first base. They're just going to let him go to second because that run doesn't really mean anything. They're still, even if that guy gets home, they still got a 5-run lead. They're more concerned with positioning the fielders in a way to stop a hit. And so the first baseman may play behind the runner, not even hold him on. he runs to second base, the catcher doesn't throw it. They don't get a stolen base for that. That's the defensive indifference. They didn't steal the base because they were never trying to throw them out or anything like that.
I call that a fielder's choice as well.
Yeah. No, but that makes sense. Because I was like,
what is that?
I should have looked at that, but I just was like, I've never heard of that. So I'm moving on. So,
well, it was so much fun talking to you. It's so cool. We just don't talk baseball all that often unless we're going to a game anymore. That used to be our whole life. And so this was really, really cool and really special. And so we're grateful for your time.
Yeah, that was great. I loved it.
Have a good rest of your day and a good game tonight.
Working the plate tonight. With the Phillies and the Nationals. So
very cool. So you got to pick the hotel.
I get to decide what color we wear tonight.
What color?
We'll go black.
Nice. I love it.
I'm not sure. We've been wearing jackets a lot this year. It's been kind of a mild spring, so I haven't worn shirts much. We've been wearing long sleeves and jackets on the bases quite a bit. Yeah.
Was it good weather up there? Is it a good baseball day?
It's no, it's cloudy and rainy. Yeah.
It's going to be a great day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I'd rather that though than 98 degrees.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
That would be tough. So
yeah. Well, again, we're super grateful and it was great to chat with you.
You too. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
God bless.
For more information on Project Brickworks and how you can get involved, visit us online at projectbrickworks.org. To subscribe to our newsletter, text BRICK to 55498. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, like our Facebook page. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and turn on notifications. If you're listening to this on a podcast, please subscribe and be encouraging with your rating. We love you all. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time.